Hi, and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about how I went from a Hoya hater to a Hoya lover. So I'm pretty much going to discuss why I didn't like the genus Hoya for the longest time, refused to collect them, and why I just didn't understand the hype of them. So the first thing is, from a distance, they all look the same. I didn't understand it. They just look like green blobs all meshed together, and I just didn't understand. And then I was doing a trade with a friend, and I had to buy some Hoya for her because she wanted Hoya. I didn't have Hoya. And the Hoyas I got, the first was like Calistophylla and the second was a Latifolia. Upon seeing both of them, the first thing is that they looked completely different. And I remember staring at the Calistophylla and like staring at it for a long time and just like falling in love with it. And I still don't have another one to this day. Like, I gave her that one and I haven't rebought one for myself, but it was so beautiful. And that was the day I started referring to them as dinosaur plants because their foliage looks like something you would see in like Jurassic Park. And I didn't realize how big and unique their leaves could get too. Like, you have your dinner plate leaf Hoyas, that are absolutely massive. And I didn't even think that was a thing. You have like your tiny ones, and then they're different like textures. Like, some are smooth, some are hairy, some are rigid. They have like different edges. Some like, have a wave to them. Some have little like cute little wisps at the end of them. There's just so many things that are unique about the foliage that I was completely wrong about. It was so funny because people used to tell me, oh, anthuriums, they look all the same. And I'd be like, no, they're so different. But honestly, in comparison to Hoyas, anthuriums look more alike than they do, which is insane because I never thought that was a thing. So I used to be a person that could really look at an anthurium and think, wow, that looks so different. But now, like, they don't look that different, okay? There's so many that really do look alike. And I'm not knocking anthurium. I love my anthurium, but there are a lot of unique Hoya out there, and I've been really, really mesmerized by them. So the other thing I didn't like is that they had messy tendrils and they seemed to like tangle up in each other. I thought that was the most unappealing look ever. And I thought they were kind of like the equivalent of aerial roots on like, where you see like your Monstera growing large aerials. And I like aerials, but on a Hoya, I just thought they looked appalling. And I didn't understand like why like they were everywhere. So that was just really unattractive to me. So later I learned that those tendrils are actually the stem and leaves grow along those. And in order to get leaves to grow on them, they usually need something to climb on. And I thought that was so fascinating because now I'm like looking at my Hoyas and I'm begging them to grow tendrils. And then when I see a ton of tendrils like in my like little greenhouse cabinets, I get so excited. So it's like such a different like feeling / what I thought it was going to be. And I absolutely love my tendrils and I want them as long as possible. And I get really sad when they like dry up at the ends. Like, that really, really bums me out to like no end. And the other thing I didn't like, which isn't anything related to their genus, but I would always see them in those generic green like plastic hangers, like planters, and that was just so unappealing to me. I just thought they just looked so ugly, and like it didn't occur to me you can put them in cute planters, you know what I mean? But you just see like all the foliage looked the same. They had a ton of messy tendrils and they were really in these basic planters, and it was just so like not cute. And then I also thought that their leaves stayed small. So I know I addressed this a little bit earlier, but you can get some massive Hoya leaves, especially if you let them climb and give them really good humidity. Like, I have a lot of leaves, they're as big as my palm, and I know there's a lot of other species that I have that can grow larger than my hand. So I'm really excited about that. And while I love the little leaf Hoyas as well now, I do have a great appreciation for those that are very large. And I'm amazed that I kind of thought they were all tiny at one point, like all very small leaf. I don't know why, but I really did. And the other thing is, I feel like a lot of people like that have been in the hobby growing Hoyas a long time would buy them for their flowers versus their foliage. And I'm a foliage girl. So that was a real turnoff to me because I would go on websites and they wouldn't even show you the leaves. They would just show you pictures of the flowers. And I'd be like, I don't know if I want this Hoya. I can't see the plant. You know what I mean? Like, it's only going to flower sometimes. Why would I only buy it for that? So that really turned me off because I thought like that was the main thing. Like they all looked, I thought they were kind of like orchids, not knocking orchids, that they just all looked alike and you only got them for their flowers. I do like orchids now. I'm actually heading to a specialized orchid store in like a week because I'm really digging blooms right now. Also, another thing is that some people, when they showed their Hoyas, and it's sad because these are people that were really proud of their Hoyas. There's two different kinds here. The first one is people that sun stress their Hoyas that didn't sun stress well, in my opinion. There are certain Hoyas that, like, while in the process of sun stressing, they look like crap. Or if they're not like meant to sun stress, they also look like crap. And there's certain Hoyas like, you know, New Guinea Ghost, which sun stress that girl. She looks hot. So I didn't know sun stressing could look that good. So things like Gunna Gading, New Guinea Ghost, Silver Dollar, yes, you know, sun stress. I love sun stress now. I don't like sickly looking sun stress, but I love good looking sun stress. And I would always see the sickly one. And the other thing that people would post is pictures of their Hoyas where you could tell they were lacking fertilizer, and they either were lacking fertilizer, been given too much sunlight, or were overwatered. And I think it's mostly fertilizer because if you overwater a Hoya, it's dead. You know? Sun stress, you can usually see sunspots if it doesn't like it. So I think it's mainly fertilizer. They're very bleached. They're very veiny, and not in a good way. There's some veiny Hoyas that look fantastic, but the very bleached look is unappealing to me. And a lot of people try to sell their Hoyas like this too. Like I'll go on Etsy and I feel like you can't get a good idea of what the Hoya could be. Like I've been genuinely surprised at Hoyas that I've bought. They fertilize like all my other plants and their new leaves look amazing. Like they're dark, moody, splashy, like huge, like complete different plants. And I'm like, well, dang, this makes me like really realize that some people just aren't like properly caring for their Hoyas and giving them like all they could. And you know what? If you like that kind of look on your Hoyas, I'm not trying to offend you. You know what I mean? But I think, like, personally speaking, that's something that really turned me off from Hoyas, that I didn't want to get into the hobby because they all looked the same and sick and messy, and I didn't like it. But it's completely not what I expected. So I feel like there's a lot of like misconception that way about them. And the last thing is I thought they were too easy to care for. Essentially, people make them sound like they're succulents because they'll be like, hey, you don't need to water them for a month. Oh my God. Okay, if that's completely not true. It's completely dependent, one, on your substrate and your environment. Okay, so I keep mine in Lechuza pond. That is very drying, and I need to water them once a week. Those in my greenhouse cabinets that are in like a warmer room that get like 80 degrees in their little greenhouse need to be watered more frequently than once a week, or they get very dehydrated and very crinkly. And by the time your Hoya gets to like this like crinkly dehydrated stage, like it's very stressed out. And I really feel bad about getting my Hoyas to that stage, but it'll happen in less than a week because of the conditions. And that's something I just completely did not expect. And I also don't know why like the ease of care turned me off from a plant, but they're not difficult to care for. Honestly, they're not. I treat them like all of my other plants. But for some reason, that was just unappealing to me. Now I'm a very lazy plant parent, so an easy plant I do not shy away from. That's pretty much the reasons why. There's always going to be Hoyas that I shy away from that just aren't my cup of tea. But that's okay because there's so many Hoya species that there's really like a Hoya for everyone. You know, like you don't have to like every species. The idea of trying to collect every species of a plant is, one, impossible, and two, why? You don't need to do that. You can have 10 Hoya you absolutely love, and that's all it has to be. Like, it doesn't have to be crazy. And when you learn to care for these guys properly, it is very rewarding. I will say, while my aeroids I don't think are slow growers by any means, you get a lot quicker growth when you have a Hoya. And that to me right now is really important. I feel like seeing plants grow is a stress relief. It makes me feel really good to know that they're thriving. It's a wonderful feeling, and every new leaf brings me a lot of joy, and that happens so fast with these guys, and I feel really, really great having them around. It's why I have so many now. It's why I limited some of my aeroid collection down, because I was getting stressed out. And not all my aeroids, like there was just some philodendron I didn't love as much as I thought that were doing fantastic. But there were some anthuriums that I even have now, they'll spot, random spots. And it's not due to like fertilizer or underwatering or overwatering or stuff like that. It's just sometimes you look at them the wrong way and they get angry and their leaf gets messed up. You know what I mean? But with a Hoya, you don't generally have that problem. So they're just kind of feel-good plants for me, and I need that. Like, I'll always love my anthuriums, but I need a feel-good plant. Like, I can't feel like crap about some plants. Sorry, there was like a stink bug that is on top of my camera. I hate these guys. But generally, when you have spotting on your Hoya, it's either going to be sun stress or just like edema from like inconsistent watering. So, like nothing, you pretty much know what's going on with your Hoya. And I freaking love it. I love them. No longer a Hoya hater. I feel really bad that I took so long to come around to this. I would even watch people that had Hoya channels, and it just wasn't like, it didn't matter. Like, I was just like mainly watching it for the person and not even for the Hoya. It was so weird. I don't know why I did that, but they're so cool. And also, like, they're so boss. They're amazing. I don't know. Love my Hoyas. But I kind of want to but this is why I made this video. I just wanted to have like an explanation of what happened, why I suddenly love Hoyas, and why I kind of limited my aeroid collection. It just wasn't as satisfying to me. I mean, they're obviously, when I was speaking to my friend the other day about what plants I would save at a fire, and I still don't think there was any Hoya on there. Like, it was all like various aeroids that I would save, and I felt kind of bad about that. But there's just some aeroids that I have that are dropped down, irreplaceable. I feel like the Hoyas I have, I could probably get again, but there's some aeroids I have that I cannot. So they'll always have a place in my heart. Like, my variegated Billietier is still like my favorite plant. Oh my god. Like, so many good ones. Even now, like, I just bought like an anthurium. It's not like I'm still not cultivating that side. But yeah, I've just found a lot of joy in Hoya. And yeah. All right, well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic and lovely day.